He had 13 romantic partners within the correctional facility itself. It would appear the facility failed to correct his behavior. But let's start from the beginning. Imagine a prison, not just any correctional institution, but a private prison in the United States, operating as a business. Now imagine an inmate who managed to turn this prison into his personal headquarters and dominion. This was an inmate who not only had access to prohibited items, but maintained his own group of correctional officers. 13 women who, at his behest, smuggled contraband, overlooked violations, and some even bore his children. This is not a movie plot. This is a real story that shocked the United States in 2015. The central figure of this unprecedented scandal is Vana White, leader of the violent Black Guerrilla Family gang. A man who by age 36 had already been in and out of prison multiple times. But his final incarceration turned out completely different from what the system intended. It all began with a single phone call to the FBI. An unidentified caller stated, "The BGF gang controls the Baltimore City Correctional Facility." Then, hung up. This statement was enough for agents to launch an investigation.
The caller was identified as a former inmate who had been systematically terrorized by White's gang. When Agent Stephen Vogel began his investigation, he uncovered a shocking reality. The actual situation inside the prison was far worse than anyone could have imagined. The facility could no longer be called a correctional institution. It had become an open-air criminal headquarters where Vana White operated as the de facto ruler. From the moment of his arrival, he had methodically consolidated control. His primary weapons were not shivs or knives, but money, influence, and the vulnerabilities of those tasked with guarding him. His first targets were female correctional officers. White's next step was building a comprehensive criminal enterprise within the prison walls. He turned his cell into a retail hub. Cigarettes, medication, prohibited substances. He sold all of these to other inmates. But this was more than mere trade. It was a calculated strategy to consolidate power. He would initially provide drugs to some inmates free of charge to get them addicted. Once dependency set in, they were forced to pay. The profits were substantial. From contraband alone, White generated up to $20,000 per month while incarcerated. But for him, mere financial gain was insufficient.
He established a perfect distribution network for his street gang. They no longer needed to take risks by selling product on the streets. They supplied it directly into the prison, where White distributed it to a captive audience of hundreds of inmates. The prison became a secure and profitable business center for him. It is at this point the story defies belief. Vana White achieved such a level of power that the prison walls effectively ceased to exist for him. Through loyal correctional officers, he obtained mobile phones. This was not merely a means to call relatives. Using these phones, he could command his gang on the outside in real time, issue orders, and manage his criminal empire without leaving his cell. Yet the most astonishing aspect was his personal relationships with the officers. He did not merely bribe them, he charmed them, transforming them into his devoted followers. He established a group of officers entirely under his influence within the prison. Using money earned from his prison operations, he gave them lavish gifts, including expensive cars. Several of these women became pregnant by him and bore his children. In total, 13 prison employees were under his complete control.
What do you find most striking about this story? The audacity of the criminal, or the complete failure of the system designed to restrain him? Share your perspective in the comments. The downfall of this empire was as abrupt as its rise. White's overconfidence ultimately worked against him. Federal agents, gathering irrefutable evidence through wiretaps on his mobile phones, closed in on the operation. The scope of the misconduct was so severe that when a U.S. senator learned of the situation at the Baltimore jail, he was stunned and immediately initiated a comprehensive purge. All 13 correctional officers were fired and faced criminal charges. Vana White himself received an additional 12-year prison sentence to be served after his existing term. However, the primary conclusion of this story isn't merely the punishment of those involved. It exposed a systemic flaw within the American private prison model. When a prison operates as a business and employees prioritize personal gain, individuals like White will always find opportunities to turn it into their personal domain. If you found this dive into an incredible story interesting, please like this video. It significantly helps our channel. And subscribe so you don't miss new investigations into major crimes and scandals.